Well, the most important hallmarks, measures and standards that makes a country to be healthy in terms of its GDP, economy, harmony, peace and happiness. It starts with law and order. I repeat, law and order. If you see states, failed states, states where the economy is not doing very well, states where the citizens are not free to express themselves, citizens who live in fear. Those are the places where there are no law and order. And then as people are more desperate and more poor, are then become victims of your terrorist organization, your religious extremist organizations who recruits them and say, hey, look here, come hang out with us here. We make money. This is the belief that we do have as an organization, and we want to change the world in such and such manner. Join us. So people will then be having limited education, limited view of the world as it is, and then they succumb to such ideologies and so forth. So, but the big question is, how do you know as a country, how do you know as a nation that, hey man, I think we qualify to be a failed state? Because you don't see it until it happens. But if you look at it, it happens in nations where there are no democracies, or where nations do not aspire to be a republic, or in nations where there are democracies, but they're just leftist democracies. In other words, the judicial system, the political system, the legislature system adopts slogans that you're seeing now, your Twitter hashtag slogans, social justice warrior slogans, to such an extent that people are no longer interested in the interpretation of law without emotion. So they would put too much pressure in the judicial system to say, hey, if you're handling a case like this, you should show empathy, you should show emotion. In other words, you're not going to hear both sides equally without having a pressure of you being forced to hear the other side first. And then slowly the rule of law and then the democracies start to crater and cave in. There are two articles here that shows us we are on our way of being a failed state, if we're not really a failed state. Here in South Africa, remember our president, when he was giving a speech, in one of those speeches he was giving about the communist virus, he was saying that the communist virus, obviously it's a pandemic, and then he proceeded to say that here in South Africa we have a second pandemic, which is GBV, gender-based violence. He said this is a pandemic and we have to tackle it as hard as we can in the Republic, and mostly it's one-sided. It's always show 9 out of 10 a story about a male doing vicious harm to a female in this republic. So as a result, whenever we're seeing it, we know that is men perpetrating violence against women. Overwhelmingly, the majority of them. But then we must look at the nation as to how has our nation been structured throughout the years. What were the ethos that we've been spewing out to the nation in order for us to have a decent nation? Because most of the crime, most people would think that you legislate your way out of crime, you legislate racism away, you will legislate gender-based violence to oblivion. And it doesn't work like that. We have to build our societies in a way that our societies are getting structured. So we have to look at stats and we have to look at science that from maybe the 50s, how many fathers were in the houses in terms of nowadays where the families are missing daddies and fathers in the house. What impact does that does to the kids in terms of a family structure? Because most people don't talk about it and they don't see it as something that puts the nation together. Remember, you have a house, if a house has a family, or on the block, if there's someone that a youngster or youngsters in the neighborhood look up to that individual, sometimes they turn out to be better, sharing the very same individual in the block because of lack of fathers in the family. So these are the things that we have to look at, the statistics that we have to check to see how can we improve our communities. I mean, look at this story here. It happened in the Eastern Cape. A woman who's been abused, right, by the partner, okay, goes to a police station to open up a case against that individual. What happens? That man follows the wife or the partner into the police station while the woman is opening up a case against the very same man. The man pulls out a gun, shoots the woman in the police station, and take off. So what does that say about our society? Law and order. So law and order has collapsed dramatically. Okay. Let me read this article quickly. An Eastern Cape woman who went to open a domestic violence case against her husband, it's actually the husband, was shot dead inside the Madeira police station in Mthatha on Monday. Preliminary reports suggest that the deceased had gone to the police to report domestic violence at her place. Police spokesperson Brigadier Thembinkosi Kinana said. While she was busy reporting to the police officer at the community service center, the husband entered the station and without saying anything started shooting at the wife, who succumbed to injuries sustained at the scene. Eastern Cape Provincial Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Lizizwe Mchinga has expressed shock and dismay at the brazen murder. The 42-year-old husband, who is believed to be employed as a security guard at a well-known security company in Mthatha, was apprehended by police as he tried to flee the scene after the shooting. The firearm he had in his possession was confiscated and will be sent to the forensic laboratory for ballistic testing, said Brigadier Kinana. Eastern Cape Provincial Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Liziwe Mchinga expressed shock and dismay at the murder. The fact that the suspect followed the deceased all the way to the police station demonstrates a premeditated onslaught on women. This is very sad and unfortunate. I'm, however, delighted at the rapid move by the police to arrest the suspect acts of gender-based violence and femicide. And femicide cannot be forgiven. Therefore, the suspect must face the law and answer for his action, Nsinga said. A murder case has been opened, and the suspect is expected to appear in the Mthatha Magistrate Court within the next few days. See, this is like a failed state, nation, where terrorist organizations or super mafia organizations just walk up to police stations and do whatever that they like. And this is an individual. In fact, it's not even a gang who entered a police station. It's an individual who goes to the police station, followed the wives who has opened a case against him, shoot her and kill her. It doesn't end there. Another story is of robbery at the police station. Yesterday's article. Mpumalanga SAPS search for suspect who stole firearm from police station. See, I don't need to read this article. So a group of gangs went into the police station, overpowered the police officers, and then forced them to open up a gun safe, and then they made off with guns out of the police station. The articles here state that it's an R5 rifle. And I remember a few years ago also, a military base, our South African military base, was raided by thugs, and they stole R4 assault rifles from the military base. So it never stops. It never stops. And obviously, this stems from and the article further states that obviously the stolen machine guns, your R4s, it states that it's able to shoot, let's see, lots of rounds. I think 900 rounds per minute. Anyway, if you need to read this article, just search engine SANDF's 19 stolen machine guns allegedly recovered. You'll see what it's all about. And this is not the first time an army base was raided and then automatic rifles were stolen from it. And the article states that these automated rifles are used in cash in transit, crimes, gang crimes, fighting for territories, and so forth. Unfortunately, the nation is becoming numb to such events because it's the same thing with corruption. It started with hundreds of thousands being stolen. The nation complains about it, and then it moves to a few millions being stolen, and then it moved to hundreds of millions being stolen, and then now we're talking about billions, coinciding with the fruitless expenditures of about your 27 billion and so forth. Remember, we as a country, we were already on recession before going to COVID-19. So we can't even blame COVID-19 now for the problems that we're having. Obviously, they've been exacerbated. When we closed down our country, we knew that South Africa as an economy, we were not going to be as flexible as your European nations. They could be able to close for more days than we could, but we closed our economy the very same way that the European countries did. So, and here we are. And unfortunately, this is the symptom of the nation in terms of the leadership. In other words, people on the ground do act and behave the very same way as the leadership of the country behaves. See, if police officers and traffic officials take bribes, meaning little bribes that they're getting on the road, they're taking the bribes because they can see there at the top that the leaders are taking bribes. The leaders are getting huge amount of astronomical tender monies. Evidently now what is happening is the PPE tenders for the equipment to fight COVID-19 right now into billions. How many commission of inquiries have we had already from the previous administration of the same political party, which is the ANC under President Jacob Zuma? And we're resuming with the commissions right now under the new, for lack of a better word, the new administration of the ANC governing party. We're having more. And if you go and look at, so now we're into the business of doing commissions which cost hundreds of millions of rands because of the fraud, corruption, and crime which has been committed by the political elites, who then wants to placate the society by saying we're gonna have a commission and get to the bottom of it. And now we're having commissions throughout. We had the Americana Commission. We had the Eroded Commission that was headed by Judge Museneke. The report came out. You know about the government officials who were mentioned in the report. Do you see them in jail? No. Where are they? Promoted, working in government. The Marikana, you heard about names of officials who were at the top. Where are they? Promoted. Some continue to be in government, and some are having their own battles in court in terms of fraud and corruption. And now is the NPA and the SIU. So instead of being able to take care of the people during this time of pandemic, moving fast, giving people protective gears, giving people gloves, giving people masks, sanitizers, making sure that schools are operating smoothly. What happens? We're having scandal from the top of my head, provinces. Northwest Province, PPE scandals, Limpopo Province scandals, KZN, COVID tender scandals, Gauteng scandals. That all goes all the way to the top as we speak right now. And by the way, the president will come out and say, I'm going to fight corruption and fraud, and ANC is accused #1 in this, and we're going to get everybody. And then you look into the office of the presidency, the deputy, and the minister who mistaken ventilators for vibrators. Mr. Don't buy, city press, don't buy. The underling over this, the cousin of the underling, also embroiled in PPE scandal, as well as the spokesperson of the president of the republic. Her husband is embroiled in PPE scandals. So it never stops. So we're this close, we're hanging on the threads of becoming a failed state. So that's just my take. My name is Mamuji, and thanks for watching the Mamuji Show, and I'm